Good morning, and welcome to the virtual worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Meeting House of Provincetown, where we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and where we support each other in our spiritual search for truth and meaning. My name is Reverend Kate Wilkinson, and I'm so glad that you have joined us this week. As we slowly return to a more normal way of life, we are reminded that there are some things in our old lives that should never have been normal. Mass shootings should never ever feel normal. Feeling so disconnected from each other that we no longer see each person as a human being with inherent worth and dignity should never feel normal. And yet, this struggle to connect with our fellow humans goes deep into our history, is told and retold in the stories of our ancestors, in the stories of the Bible even. Today, we take a look at some of the ways that our society is torn. And we also look for metaphors and theologies that will help us in stitching together a new normal, one that never gets used to violence or disconnection. Theologies and metaphors that leave no one outside of our circle of concern and care. We hold in our hearts this morning the 8 people killed by a gunman in the Atlanta area earlier this month, 6 of whom were Asian women. To our Asian American siblings, who have already been the focus of so much hate this past year, in part because of the irresponsible and bigoted language of our leadership during this pandemic, we see you. We hold you in our circle of care. We also hold in the light the families of 10 people killed at a Colorado grocery store this past week. To all of you who have lost loved ones to gun violence, or who live in increased fear because our country refuses to enact meaningful gun control, we see you. And we hold you in our circle of care. This week, on March 31st, we celebrate Transgender Day of Visibility, a call for full equality for transgender and non-binary people. Our prayer this morning is by my colleague, Reverend Mr. Barb Grieve. To our transgender and non-binary siblings, we see you, and we hold you in our circle of care. Our choir piece is also very special this morning. Along with many other Unitarian Universalist congregations on Palm Sunday, our choir learned and sang the song Elijah, written by Bill Harley, arranged by Peter Amidon, directed by Adam Podd of the First Unitarian Church of Brooklyn, and compilated and edited by our own Mary Abt. This beautiful and moving song was written to honor the memory of Elijah McLean, a young Black man who died at the hands of the Aurora, Colorado police. Elijah was a massage therapist and a musician. He used to play the violin for stray cats because he believed that the music helped to calm them. Elijah, siblings of color, we see you, and we hold you in our circle of care. As I light our chalice here in the sanctuary this morning, I invite you to light a candle wherever you are. May our light extend far beyond our living rooms to encompass all that are in need of our care. And may we feel more connected with one another even while we are apart.
We light this chalice, symbol of our purpose, to bring more love and justice into the world. We light this chalice knowing our congregation is not bound by walls, but is connected through the web of life.
Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí y al corazón, cántale tu compasión, sopla al volar, sube en la mar, hasta volver la justicia de la vida. Arréglame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí.
Please join with me as we affirm our covenant. Love is the spirit of this meeting house. And this is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Prayer for Trans Day of Visibility. Blessed are the trailblazers who brought us this far and are still trailblazing, still celebrating. Blessed are the drag queens and kings who remind us to not take life too seriously. Blessed are the gender benders, non-binary, gender fluid, and third gender folk, those who challenge us to reframe our gender paradigms. Blessed are the young ones who present fearlessly from the start. Blessed are their parents who make space for freedom and love their children fiercely. Blessed are the siblings and relatives who educate, support, and love us as we are. Blessed are the genderqueer youth who are struggling and still persist. Blessed are the 90-year-olds just coming out, and those who have been out decades. Blessed are those whose lives were cut too short. May their stories live on through us. Blessed are the survivors. May they keep on living. Blessed are the allies learning to be accomplices. Blessed are those gathered here, witnessing, learning, celebrating. May we all commit to continue showing up, fighting for justice, celebrating all the genders in life. Amen.
Robert T. Weston writes, "There is a living web that runs through us to all the universe, linking us each with each and through all life on to the distant stars. Each knows a little corner of the world and lives as if this were his all. We no more see the farther reaches of the threads than we see of the future, yet they're there. Touch but one thread, no matter which. The thoughtful eye may trace to distant lands its firm continuing strand, yet lose its filaments as they reach out, but find at last it coming back to him from whom it led. We move as in a fog, aware of self, but only dimly conscious of the rest, as they are close to us in sight or feeling. New objects loom up for a time, fade in and out. Then, sometimes, As we look on unawares, the fog lifts, and there's the web in shimmering beauty, reaching past all horizons. We catch our breath, stretch out our eager hands, and then in comes the fog again, and we go on, feeling a little foolish, doubting what we had seen. The hands were right. The web is real. Our folly is that we so soon forget.
Today is Palm Sunday in the Christian tradition, and we are also in the midst of Passover in the Jewish tradition. Each year at this time, religious communities tell the biblical stories of Jesus entering Jerusalem triumphantly, even though he knows that he is a targeted man and will soon be tried and crucified by the Romans. And the story of Moses, who leads his people out of slavery in Egypt. Moses was also meant to be killed because the Pharaoh had ordered that every newborn Hebrew boy be drowned at birth. But Moses was hidden in a basket made of reeds and sent down the river, where he was found by the Pharaoh's daughter, who raised him as her own. We retell these stories each year, sometimes focusing on a different element of the story. How we tell these stories depends a lot on what is happening during this time, because stories of long ago and far away help us to understand the stories of today in a new light. And the stories of today help us to understand history too. Last year, I was struck by how the Jews left Egypt before they were ready, without even having time for their bread to rise. They just suddenly found themselves in the desert, figuring it out as they went along. And that was like us, plunged into a pandemic without a roadmap. This year, I am remarking on how both of these stories, the Jesus story and the Exodus story, are in essence about state-sponsored violence caused by fear and a scarcity mentality, caused by disdain of difference, and a sense that our destinies are not intertwined, but rather in competition with one another. Both of these stories are stories of scapegoating and othering. And we still do that. The state still does that. Even though these are the stories at the heart of two of our world's major religious traditions, we haven't seemed to learn all that much from them. We still fear people who teach, like Jesus, that we must take care of the people on the edges of society, that we must overturn the tables of the money changers and those who would exploit others for profit, that everyone is deserving of healing. And we still listen to people who, like the Pharaoh, tell us that some people are born to be superior, and that if others thrive, it is a threat to that way of life. The players change, but the stories repeat themselves again and again, generation to generation. We are encouraged to distance ourselves from those we see as other, and the state turns a blind eye, or worse, sponsors violence against the other to protect those in power. Biblical stories are not at the heart of my own theology, although I enjoy learning from them and exploring them. And religious holidays are often a chance to revisit the wisdom of these teaching stories that have been passed down generation to generation. The thing that is at the heart of my own theology, which I have also been thinking about this week alongside these stories, is the metaphor of the web. I see God as a web. I see the universe as God. God is the web of interconnections of which we are a part. Nature, which is where I have always felt most spiritual, most connected, is a living, breathing part of the web. Humanity is also part of that divinity in my take on the world. This God web is not just a universe of scientific systems. It is truly holy. And there is an energy that is created by the web that is more than the sum of its parts. It's like when people hold hands, and the connections of their hands creates a warmth which spreads through all of them. I believe that spirit can be present with us or absent from us as we are conscious or unconscious of our place in the web. Because I see God as a web, I see revelation as the moments when the intersections of the web are revealed to us, when we feel most part of the web. Revelation is our eyes opening to this interconnection. It feels almost like a literal tug on our hearts. So it is this sense of the web that I turn to when we have such a hard month as this one has been in the news. And I ask myself to think about what a faithful response to the world news might be. It is easy, or at least possible, to see God's revelation of this web in moments of beauty, the sunset, the ocean, the hug. What's harder is recognizing as revelation the moments of intersection that are not beautiful, feeling undone by the news, witnessing and grieving death, witnessing suffering, feeling suffering. But if the news is hard to watch, it is the sense of connection to the web that causes that tug on our hearts too. If revelation equals those moments of knowing that we are part of the God web, then the hurting moments are revelation also. When my heart breaks as I listen to a news story, I remind myself that this is me caring for the world. This is God caring for God's self. This heartbreak is holy work. Some of us would prefer, myself included, to only trace the strands of the God web to the beautiful things, the sun and moon and stars. And maybe to other people when they are good and loving and look and act much like ourselves. But the God web is bigger than that. The God web connects us to people whose lives are very unlike our own. The God web connects us to a teenager who feels trapped in the wrong body, or who is asking us to learn new language to address them by. And the God web connects us to an innocent young black man killed by the police, and a police officer killed by a gunman in a grocery store while trying to protect others. And the God web connects us to an Asian immigrant woman working in the sex industry, and to those who exploit her, to the Israelites and the Pharaoh, to Jesus and the Romans who killed him. The God web connects us to the state and to those who protest the state. The God web connects us to our own divinity and our own cruelty, our own compassion and our own apathy. We are all intertwined, but we often lose sight of the strands that connect us. And so we can more easily demonize each other, dismiss each other, prioritize ourselves over others. We put our privileges and rights and freedoms above other people's right to survive. And mostly, we don't even see the other because we are not looking. My friend Lotus wrote this to her fellow Asian women on Facebook this week. Dear ones, you have never been invisible to me. From that first time that we came to know each other as family, friends, colleagues, or students, now friends. When I first saw you, I recognized you in me and I in you. For years this has gone without saying, but today I want each of you to know that I am with you. I refuse to minimize your perceptions, choices, experiences, thoughts, or fears. I won't offer another societal excuse to try to devalue who you are, or if your heart might be breaking, if you are feeling afraid, or how you feel right now. I continue to stand with you, she wrote. I always have, and I always will. What if we could all say that to one another? What if we could all say that to one another and mean it? What healing might come if we could all say that to one another and mean it? We are trying to heal from a world that enslaves and crucifies and assassinates its prophets. We're trying to heal from a world that sees Black men as dangerous and Black women as angry. We're trying to heal from a world that sees Asian women as submissive or as temptresses and doesn't hold men accountable for their actions. We're trying to heal from a world that puts gun rights over human life. We're trying to heal from a pandemic. We're trying to heal from a pandemic that has disproportionately affected Black and brown communities and poor communities. We're trying to heal from a world that teaches us that for us to be successful, we have to keep more for ourselves and give less to others. We're trying to heal from a world that says, if you don't have papers, you are not worthy. We're trying to heal from a world that says the church can name our love as sinful, that we are not creative enough to see beyond the binary. We're trying to heal from a world that says you are not holy if you are not somehow pure. We're trying to heal from a world that says we are separate from one another and that the web that connects us is a fiction. I don't know how to heal from all of that. But I believe it starts with saying, you are not invisible to me. You are not invisible to me. You are not invisible to me. May it be so. Amen. And blessed be.
When the world is sick, can no one be well? But I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, can no one be well? But I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, can no one be well? But I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, when the world is sick, can no one be well? But I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, can no one be well? But I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, can no one be well? But I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, can no one I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, can no one be well? But I dreamt we were all beautiful